Coming up this week on The Youth Perspective.
I am a physiotherapist, as you mentioned, and I'm also a phytotherapist, and that's a new term for a lot of people.
Right.
But what a phytotherapist is essentially a herbalist, someone who does deep studies of plants to use plants as healing. I consider myself an integrative physical therapist, so I use a myriad of modalities to help women and men heal. You mentioned I'm a breast cancer rehab specialist. I'm also a diabetes educator. So you can see that my path is wellness and making sure that I take care of those who have chronic disease issues. And working in this realm for so long, I realized I just don't want to treat. I want to educate. I want to advocate. And this is what I do. This is how I show up in the spaces as lead of physical activity for Healthy Bahamas Coalition. I also serve on the University of West Indies Open Campus as an advisory on their board. So education, wellness is my passion.
The Youth Perspective, where we shine the light on the youth of our nation. You don't want to miss this episode each Saturday at 7:30 p.m. on 1540 a.m. Power 104.5 FM, the national voice of the Bahamas.
I'm trying to be great, and I'm on my way. Way up, way up, way up. It's never too late, and I'm on my way.
I'ma leave my mark. Ready, set, go. Ready, set, go. Ready, set.
With so much negativity being yielded at the youth of our nation, it seems hard to find any signs of a bright future. Coming from a legendary past, the new generation of Bahamians seek to take this nation to heights it's never seen. That's where the youth perspective comes in. We seek to display tomorrow's leaders in every facet of society. Each show will focus on today's pace setters, trendsetters, movers and shakers, and the next generation of great, impactful Bahamians. We seek to uplift, motivate, and encourage our listeners. Tune in as we address issues of importance with wisdom and intelligence, all from the youth perspective.
Hello, my name is Tim Barker. I'm 7 years old and I'm a vegan. I don't eat meat or dairy. I eat organic and you should too.
Yeah, simple truth. From the mouth of the babe, we are digging a grave with a knife and a fork. Then we move on. Most of the maladies is self-inflicted. Omit the junk food, candy and biscuits. Soy and corn should be highly restricted. Breaking down the body to pieces, impeding the pancreas, causing diabetes, like cancer and many autoimmune diseases. Hard chemical is the prevailing thesis. Take back your health, do it for yourself. Take back your health, take back your health. Life it is the greatest wealth. Take back your health. Many run to the doctor for pills. Instead of fixing the problem, it only make them ill. We need education, no more medication. Yo, herbs are the healing of the nation. Big pharma a scheme, them not stop from plan. Inject the youths with vaccination. Them a mash up regeneration. Me sing say, take back your health, do it for yourself. Take back your health, take back your health. Life is the greatest wealth. Take back your health. Them take the seeds of the fruits, make the plants them hybridize. Computer seeds, everything digitalized. Domesticate and commercialize. Too much synthetic, it's time to naturalize. It's time to grow it ourselves. Don't depend on nobody else, cause nature provide the hemp and the spelt. Now let us take back our health. Take back your health, do it for yourself. Take back your health, take back your health. Life it is is the greatest smell. Take back your hand. So don't give me no food from no lamb. Don't wanna rock, no slam. I'm a vegan, I'ma say it loud and proud. Bloody meat, dead flesh, oh wow, yo. Them go slaughter the cow. It's a bloodbath now. Fi satisfy them hunger. Expect fi live longer and look younger. Me ask them how. Take back your health. Do it for yourself. Take back your health. Take back your health. Life it is the greatest smell. Take back your health.
And we're back. Welcome to another edition of The Youth Perspective. It's yours truly, Kashigan Jamal. And we're back again with another edition of The Youth Perspective. We thank you so much for locking it in each and every Saturday on 1540 AM, 104.5 FM, the national voice of the Bahamas. Inspiration, 107.9 FM, where it's all gospel all the time. And then also we have 810 AM, ZNS3 in Grand Bahama. So we thank you so much for being a part of the show. And on this episode, in this month of March, there is a big celebration around the world where women are celebrated. On March 8th, it was International Women's Day, a day to be able to encourage and foster the continued growth of women. And this year, for International Women's Day 2025, the campaign theme was Accelerate Action for Gender Equality. They're using the hashtag Accelerate Action. All right. And so as we move throughout this month of March, we're going to be bringing on individuals. We're going to bring on women. Let's say that women who are going to help us have this conversation as we celebrate our women in this month of March. All right. And so joining us on the show this evening, we have Dr. Kitiboni Adderley. All right. She is a physical therapist and a phytotherapist, but she is passionate about wellness and keeping people active and pain-free, especially breast cancer survivors and people living with diabetes and other chronic diseases. She loves educating people on the benefits and power of physical therapy. Welcome to the show, Dr. Adderley. She's an Adderley, so she's cool with me. Good evening. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Adderley.
It is so great to have you on the show in this month where we celebrate women. And it's always a great time when we get to do this particular episode because women are worthy to be celebrated. They are worthy to be talked about and shared and let them know from the mountaintops. And I often, when we have these conversations, I also talk about the young girl in Rumkey, right? Who's listening to us and being encouraged by these kind of conversations that we have, whether we have conversations about women in STEM, whether we have conversations about women in politics, whatever, we have these conversations. I know within myself that there is some young girl out there, some young woman out there that's being encouraged by these conversations. And so we thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be a part of the show.
It's my pleasure to be here.
All right. And so as we start our conversation this evening, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know I might have mentioned some things, but I've been following you, and I know you've added some degrees, you've added some modalities, you've added some more things to your list. I know that's not all the things that you do. So share with us a little bit about yourself that person should know.
Well, I am a mother of 3 daughters. So I want you to understand that when I speak tonight, I am speaking from a place of knowing what it is to traverse the world as a woman, but also as somebody who's very intentional about creating spaces, creating opportunities, and giving young women's voices because I've been blessed with 3 beautiful daughters. I am a physiotherapist, as you mentioned, and I'm also a phytotherapist, and that's a new term for a lot of people.
Right.
But what a phytotherapist is essentially a herbalist, someone who does deep studies of plants to use plants as healing. I consider myself an integrative physical therapist, so I use a myriad of modalities to help women and men heal. You mentioned I'm a breast cancer rehab specialist. I'm also a diabetes educator. So you can see that my path is wellness and making sure that I take care of those who have chronic disease issues. And working in this realm for so long, I realized I just don't want to treat. I want to educate. I want to advocate. And this is what I do. This is how I show up in the spaces as lead of physical activity for Healthy Bahamas Coalition. I also serve on the University of West Indies Open Campus as an advisory on their board. So education, wellness is my passion.
Definitely. And, it's so interesting, when we talk to individuals and we talk about how important it is to be well and take your health serious at an early age. As you come into contact with individuals and persons, what do you find? What do you find the level of health in our nation and our country with persons that you come into contact with?
Well, I think it's varied and it's going to be biased because remember now, I'm going to get the people that need the help.
Okay.
The people that come into my clinic handling your health, wellness, and rehab, and Exomo Wellness and Rehab, they come into my clinic usually because there's something not quite right with their health and wellness. So I'm always going to get that population more than the other. Now I've taken the step out to do a lot more advocating and a lot more education. But we need to work on our level of health and our level of wellness in the Bahamas. And I love how you started off. You talked about the young girl in Brum Key. I started off in Andros. My parents moved to Andros when I was a toddler. I wasn't one yet. So my first memories of being a child, being a human, being a Bahamian was in the rural town of Nicholstown, Andros, right? And now I work as well as an Exuma. And a lot of times when we have these conversations, they're so Nassau-centric or Providence-centric. We don't think of our family islands. And I'm glad that you said that. So the push for wellness is national. It's all over. In New Providence, we can see that we have some issues. There are high rates of hypertension, high rates of diabetes. We see high rates of cancer. How do we keep those rates down? How do we educate people on how to be aware and take care of themselves so they don't end up on that statistic sheet? Right. So International Women's Day, our theme to this year is Accelerate Action. So exactly what you're doing tonight, giving us a chair and a microphone to sit down in and to speak to talk about accelerating action or being more proactive and taking care of your health. I find that we are not putting the emphasis on health until much later on in life. Like women really start concentrating on their health more so when they get pregnant. That's when you really pay attention because you're eating for the child. But, you have to start taking care of you as soon as you recognize that your choices really, really control what your health and wellness could possibly look like. So one, we want to use our voice. We want to speak up to take action. We want our young women to know that you need to start paying attention to your health. And I'm saying it, speaking to the young ladies, right? Because we're talking to the youth of the nation. I'm talking to the parents as well. But we need to start ensuring that the young people know that their health and wellness is also their responsibility. It's the choice of drinking a can of soda versus a bottle of water for lunch, right? Eating a chocolate instead of probably eating a piece of fruit. And it's not to say don't drink sodas or don't eat chocolate, but the rate in which we're doing it, it's showing up negatively in the health and wellness of our young people. So using our voice, speaking up, bringing awareness of what good health and good wellness should look like for our female population, our young lady.
And I think it goes to being aware of the communication, right, that your body is giving off. You might feel something here. You might, when you eat this particular food, you might wake up feeling some type of way. But persons kind of, we have our head down and we're working and we're providing and, we're doing all the necessary things, but not necessarily necessary in the area of our health.
True. And I'm sure a lot of women in my generation could attest to the fact that our parents didn't talk to us much about our health and our wellness and our body, especially when we started to have periods. I mean, you would get some comment, but you get pregnant now, or you can't eat this because you don't want to put on too much weight because nobody want a fat woman.
Wow.
These are the kinds of conversations that you may hear very early on about health and wellness. And what we want to do is shift it towards what you eat either feeds the disease or fights the disease. So let's start fighting the disease.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only body that you have to live in it. So make sure you give it the right things so it can thrive. I think that's so important. And the other thing is we talk about health equity for women or equality for women. I mean, and I don't think you'll ever have equality, because women need more attention. It's just hands down. We have menopause. I call it menostart, when the period starts, when they start seeing their menstruation, right? Then we have pregnancy. And like I said, a lot of attention is given to women during those 40 weeks of pregnancy. And unfortunately, not much is given after those 40 weeks of pregnancy. And this is where we start to see some issues arise. But we're going to come back to that. Mm-hmm. And then we have menopause. All these very powerful periods in our lives, and periods play on words, there's hormones fluctuating. And depending on the health of the young woman, this can look different. So in young women, we start to see things like polycystic ovary syndrome. We start to see things like endometriosis. We can see possible things like dysmenorrhea, where they have very painful periods, or we may have amenorrhea, where they're not seeing periods. And all of these are signs and symptoms that there is something not right in their system. And unfortunately, young people, if they're not well educated, may start to think that this is how my body is and it's normal, when the body was giving signs very early on that these may be issues we need to talk to and address. I don't know what the statistics is like for young women going into gynecologists after they start seeing their periods, and perhaps this is something where we need to focus on and start having real pointed conversations around this, so that when they enter into that phase of motherhood, they have healthier bodies going into motherhood, healthier minds going into motherhood. And so as they go into child rearing and actually nurturing, they're healthier, and they can do a better job of nurturing as well as a better job of emulating what good health and wellness is for the next generation. And when they go into the state of menopause, we have healthier bodies going into menopause. So we have less side effects of menopause, less hot flashes, less headaches, less weight gain. Some of the things that we see quite prominently now. I know I've said a lot, but this is what we're talking about.
And let me ask you, when we talk about positive steps, when we talk about what do we need to do, what do we need to be aware of for women listening in terms of their health, what do they need to be aware of, what do they need to be watching out for, and what practical steps can they take?
Well, the first thing they need to be aware of is how their body works, right? What does your body do? So most women, or most females, start to see their periods usually between the ages of 11 to probably 13. In some cases, it happens even sooner. And so once you start having periods, you understand now your body is on a cycle. So every 28 days, we expect to see a period again, right? Usually, that's the norm. And though what we want to do is ask them to start looking at their bodies. What happens to your body during those 28 days? Are there days when you feel more tired? Are there days when you feel more painful? Are there days when you feel more bloated? And really start paying attention to your bodies, because unfortunately, we spend a lot of time looking at the superficial, how our hair is fixed. My baby hair is laid, the way my hair is braided, how tight my skirt is, what kind of pusher bra I have on. But the actual structure, the actual physical structure, we don't pay that much attention to. And so we want them very early to start understanding how their body works. So when they go in to have these gynecological visits, and the doctor starts to ask questions, they can answer these questions. Yes, my period comes every 28 days. It lasts for 5 days. I bleed heavy 2 days. Those kinds of conversations that you need to have, because like I said, that can indicate what your health is like, what your overall health and wellness is like. The other thing is, I always stress, you are what you eat. So be very careful what you're putting into your body. We have an epidemic right now of diabetes. We also have an epidemic of obesity. We're trying to get everybody to reduce their BMI, or I shouldn't say everybody, but most people to reduce their BMI, because it's an issue. And the issue is two parts. One, we're consuming foods that are probably not the best for us by a lot of high fats, high sugar foods, simple starches, processed foods, foods that are full of preservatives, foods that are full of chemicals. And this is creating this manifestation of increased weight, insulin insensitivity, insulin resistance. We're also getting cancers early on in life. And so paying attention to the food you eat and the quality of food that you eat is extremely important. That's the first part. And the second part is physical activity. So I know growing up, the boys could go outside and run around and play basketball, but the girls had to sit inside.
Wow.
So you always found that the boys were more physically fit for the most part.
Right.
If the girls weren't involved in some kind of sport. So my youngest is an avid soccer player. She's on the under 15 women's girls team for the Bahamas.
Wow.
So, she's keeping up very physically fit. My second child, she did a lot of dancing. She's still dancing. She got back into the gym now that she's in university. And my first daughter, she played the soccer, she played the softball, but she's not as active as she is. So you can see once you lose engagement in sporting activities, if you're not involved in very physical activities in terms of exercising 3 to 5 times a week or doing something that's very physical, we tend to fall off on that physical activity. And one thing has been shown is that physical activity, constant physical activity, 150 minutes of moderate exercise helps to negate or helps to prevent many of the chronic diseases that we see impacting our population.
And so when we talk about the regular Bahamian Sunday dinner, we even talking about making changes, in that area, because for a lot of Bahamians, it's like if the plate don't weigh, a certain amount, right? If there aren't certain things on that plate, I don't want to offend anybody, but if there aren't certain things on that plate, then it's not Sunday dinner. I didn't have that big Sunday dinner like I wanted to,
right? Because we know I get a lot of dirty looks when I do my diabetes education, and we talk about food portions and we talk about food stocks, right? So when we educate as diabetes educators, we always talk about looking at the plate. We say a man should have an 11-inch plate, a woman should have a 9-inch plate. We could argue that out, right? But that's usually what the going conversation is or guidelines is. And what we say is that half of your plate should be leafy green vegetables, right? That should be half of your plate should be vegetables.
My God. And
we're not talking about coleslaw that's covered in sugar and mayonnaise and cream, because depending on who make it, saucy, the sauces be jumping, right?
Yeah.
So we're not talking about coleslaw. We're talking about broccoli and spinach and callaloo and kale and those kinds of greens. And we want veggies, right? Then we said 1/4 of the plate now, because we already took up half the plate. So the other side of the plate should be 1/4 complex carbohydrates, yam, cassava, potatoes, those kinds of dense carbs. And then the other side of the plate should be a protein. And it should be the fist of your hand, the amount of protein that you should consume. I mean, they're different figures, but I'm just speaking broadly.
Just broadly. Okay.
When we do more specific training, we then break it down to the individual that sits in front of us, but as a basic guideline. So you can imagine now, I'm standing in front of people and I'm telling them this, and they're like, well, miss, how I can fit the macaroni and the potato salad and the peas and rice on this plate? And I just eat 2 meat. And Bahamians struggle with this. Not just Bahamians. I think a lot of West Indians, the Americans in the southern states struggle with this food, this plate presentation. But we know that's the healthier way to eat. And so now we have to unlearn what Sunday dinner plate should look like.
Yeah.
Right? And the interesting thing is peas and rice, macaroni and potato salad was a Sunday thing. But now we eating it every day for lunch.
Yeah.
We eating chicken in the bag every day for lunch. And I'm saying chicken in the bag, so I'm dating myself. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The fried food with the fries, we're eating that every day. That used to be a Saturday treat.
Yeah. It's becoming
so now we're
commonplace.
bombarding our bodies with this barrage of not the healthiest choices and combinations of food. And the earlier we can teach our young people that, the better. And when I say that, I mean, as much as we want to say independence and everything, we know the women usually end up doing most of the cooking in the kitchen. So the earlier we can train and teach a young woman to make healthier choices, when she starts to cook in her own kitchen and has to take care and nurture her own family, she will be making those food and cooking choices based on the education that she's had of what a healthier plate should look like and what healthier portions should look like.
And it's interesting that you should mention our younger folks now. As we talk to the young kids out there listening in, the choices these days, I'm sure as not as broad as what you would have had growing up. But it's all about the chips, and it's all about the biscuits and the cookies, and this kind of thing. And so, how do we now not just have this conversation with our older folks and our adults, but more so our younger children now, to introduce them to a better way of being able to consume food?
We just start talking to them. The same way we teach them their ABCs, their 1, 2, 3s, their timetables. We introduce very early what healthier foods should look like. So think about it, right? When we learned our ABCs, A is for apple, right? Everybody knew A was for apple. You would always probably say O is for orange. Right. So incorporate it in their daily learning. So try and use healthier choices for the words. And when you do your sums and problems, talk about healthier foods, right? It's the way you just integrate it. It doesn't have to be this and that. It has to be one cohesive message. It comes down to policies, and sometimes it gets a little tenuous because a lot of the people, a lot of the corporate sponsors sometimes may not have a lot of the healthier options. Right. And so it comes down to financial. But then we have to look at it in the long term. We have so many people now on renal failure that we need all these kidney dialysis machines. We have people dropping down from strokes. We have people dropping down from heart attacks. And a lot of these are lifestyle diseases. If the lifestyle was different, meaning the foods that they consume, their activities that they had, as well as, and we haven't talked about this part, managing stress, right? Stress is very impactful on your health and wellness. And that's another thing we sort of silo or put it away from. We don't really put it on the table when we start talking about health and wellness. But this is a very stressful, anxious time for a lot of people. And our young children the same way. And so how do we deal with all of that? Let's start having those conversations. Conflict resolution, a lot of times it's people not being able to manage their stress properly. They may be overwhelmed with the situation. They're angry. Somebody said something to him or her, and instead of her take 2 deep breaths and walk away, she's angry, he's angry, they lash out. That's a fight. And if it's in the worst case scenario, somebody could be seriously hurt or killed. And so creating those spaces of conversations, giving them examples of what good conflict resolution looks like. And unfortunately, they're not getting it in the media, especially right now. Yeah. So the effort has to be made of what good conflict resolution should be as we pick our better food choices and as we encourage our young people to exercise and be more active.
Yeah. And so as we get set to wrap up things in just a little bit, before we get your closing comments, is there anything else we need to know that's health related or, about International Women's Day before I get your closing and your wrap up comments?
Well, let's keep talking about it. Let's not wait till every International Women's Day to sit down and have these conversations. Let's set good examples as the older people in the community. Let's set good examples so our younger people can emulate. That's very, very important. We have to take responsibility. Sometimes we have created not the best examples of what health and wellness should look like. Keep educating, keep encouraging, keep supporting, and just keep having these conversations.
Indeed. Now, before we let you go, your closing comments.
My closing comments is life is for living. And you want to do that in the best health possible. We have a saying in physiotherapy, Medicine gives you more days. Physical therapy gives you more joy to your days. So we want to keep you moving. We want to keep you healthy. We don't want to see you when you're just sick. We want to start standing up in front and making sure we educate you. I am, like I said, a big proponent of education. I offer a lot of workshops. I offer a lot of webinars. If you scroll through my Facebook pages, I haven't posted a lot recently, but I've been doing a lot of Facebook Lives, ensuring that I talk about different topics of wellness because we want to make sure that it's available. And so please prioritize your health, not just your physical health, but your mental health. Look for people in the community that are counselors and that are therapists that can reach out. Try and look for books that are self-help. Read something that's going to improve you. 15 minutes a day. There are lots of things on the internet now where you can go on and do some meditation, some self-improvement, healthier eating habits. The same way we Google our songs to go and do the dance challenges, we can go ahead and Google or go on YouTube and look for some of these self-help things. And if you have problems finding stuff, feel free to reach out to me at Handling Your Health, Wellness and Rehab, or Exuma Wellness and Rehab. I'm on social media. You can definitely come out and reach out to me. I'll be happy to share that information with you. And Mr. Adderley, thank you so much for giving us an opportunity, the Healthy Bahamas Coalition, to sit down with you and giving us an opportunity to amplify our voice and our messages as we reach out to make our nation just more healthy and well, especially young women, the hands that rock the cradle of the nation.
Amen. I love it. Dr. Kitiboni Adderley joining us on this edition of The Youth Perspective. And we celebrate women, all right? And we have these conversations to be able to build more healthy relationships, to be able to share what they're doing in the community, and to be able to make everyone that much better. Of course, she's a physical therapist and phytotherapist, and she's been doing some wonderful things. Now, if persons want to get in contact with you, Dr. Kitty, how can they do so?
You can find me on social media. I'll probably be the only one with this name, Kitiboni Physio, Kitiboni Physio. You can find me under my business handles, which are Handling Your Health and Exuma Wellness and Rehab. My cell phone number, WhatsApp number is 242-427-5820. That's 242-427-5820. So, and of course, they can call you. I'm sure you're going to give them my contact if they can't remember any of these contact points.
Now that you told me I can, I will.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate you joining us, and continue to enjoy your International Women's Year. We could just put the year on it.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for joining us. Joining us on this episode of The Youth Perspective, Dr. Adderley, and we had a great conversation as we continue to celebrate International Women's Day, but extending it in this month and having these conversations. We thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week, Saturday, as we do it all over again. The Youth Perspective, where we shine the light on the youth of this nation. And you're locked in at 1540 AM, 104.5 FM, the national voice of Bahamas. Inspiration, 107.9 FM, and ZNS3, 810 AM, the light in Grand Bahama. It's yours truly, Kashkin Jamal. Have a great evening. I'll see you next time. Good evening.
I'm trying to be great, and I'm on my way, way up, way up, way up. It's never too late, and I'm on my way.
I'ma leave my mark, ready, set, go. Ready, set, go. Ready, set,
I hope you enjoyed another edition of The Youth Perspective. Stay tuned for more interviews, more in-depth conversation, great music as we seek to encourage, empower, impact, and uplift our youth of this nation. Here on The Youth Perspective, we'll see you next time right here on The Youth Perspective with Kashik and Jamal.